Welcome to Elevate Your Life and Soul. I'm your host, Marla Kennedy, life coach, mama, and spiritual soul seeker. Each week, this podcast will bring you interviews, stories, and mentoring so you can truly know your value, know your worth, and elevate all areas of your life. Let's rise together. Hi, Cece. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful you're here and really excited to get into this chat with you.
I'm so grateful for being here.
Amazing. So I'd love to start by asking you, how do you start your day?
Oh, that's a great question. If I don't start my day in my routine, it kind of throws the whole day off. So when I wake up, I start with a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So try to keep the cell phone away. I know that's hard for everybody because we want to see what's going on while we're sleeping, but start off the day with just gentle meditation and breathing techniques, a huge glass of water, and then I move on to go straight to working out. And the reason why I do that is because if I let anything else get in the way of that, it can throw off the whole routine. And so yeah, exactly right. So from working out, moving my body, however that might be that day, then I head into like a quote work day and checking emails and socials and everything like that.
Perfect. And how do you like to move your body?
Ooh, well, it depends on the day. But most of the time there's a dance element incorporated into it. I'm a big fan of the elliptical, reading on the elliptical. Sometimes if I'm pretty lazy, this is a trick I learned, is that I just stick a chair in front of me and I just go up and down on the chair.
Oh, cool.
It sounds a little bit weird, right? But it's an easy thing that I do that starts to get the heart rate up fast. And so then gives me kind of the motivation to go into something that might be a little bit harder.
Yeah. Amazing. And so you call yourself an inspiration activist. What compelled you to follow that path, and what is that?
Well, an inspiration activist, I suppose, would be just inciting inspiration in as many facets as possible. And what put me on that journey was just being very, very, very sad and depressed. I used to be a bartender when I was going through university, and I just drank a lot and was really unhealthy and saw all my friends in the same rut. And so when I pulled myself up from that with a lot of positive psychology, starting me off into meditation, I realized that there's so many people that are living lives that are not fulfilled, and they carry this heavy sadness inside of them. And so I wanted to find ways that might spark a little bit of happiness or inspiration to get them to at least think, if not make a move, to do something that would be improving their lives for the better, for their health, for their happiness.
Yeah, I so resonate with that because I used to work in bars and nightclubs, and I'm sober myself. So I totally resonate with that. Just stepping away from that kind of lifestyle into a more like inspirational, positive, service kind of oriented industry, because I feel like that can be the alcohol scene and all those kind of industries can be so detrimental to your well-being on all different levels. And what is your mission?
My mission in that respect would be to spread inspiration as much as possible. But I really, it might sound a little bit cheesy, but I really want people to be happy and healthy and in love. And I look around at the world and I think there's so many possibilities for this. This podcast is a beautiful example of like your way of contributing to that. And so my mission is just really, in any capacity that I have, any talent I have, any way that I can connect to the world, is to just spread that and hopefully change some people's minds or lives so that they feel happy and inspired.
Yeah, and it's not cheesy because my mission itself is so simple and so similar. It's literally to help women find their voice and love their life, because when you love your life, then like what more can you want, really? Yes, I love that. Simple, and it's beautiful. And What what hurdles have you personally faced, and how have you overcome them?
So we touched on that a little bit with me working in the bar scene. That was uh, a huge hurdle that I faced because there's a lot that comes with working in a night scene, such as throwing off your internal rhythms of being awake during the the nighttime and sleeping during the day. And so I had a lot of health problems that accumulated with that, a lot of
Mm.
stress, anxiety, and so I got to a place in my own personal health and mental health that um, kind of broke me down. And so I was literally at the lowest point that I could imagine, where I just honestly didn't know how to even live anymore, and it ruined all my relationships. And I thought, I need to get over this. And so that was huge for me. So, health, mental health, overcoming that, and then spiraling onto this path in little steps, always improving, always growing. But I would say that if there was one compelling hurdle, that would be it.
Mm. And what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
My best self. I am a huge food fan,
Mm.
and I call myself a food artist as well. So I learned to create food. I studied and trained in creating plant-based food and really
Mm.
getting in touch with where our food comes from. And so that really inspires me because I love eating, and I even more love creating the food that makes me feel good and makes other people
Mhm.
happy and feel healthy and at their best self while still
Mm.
enjoying it, having an amazing eating experience.
Mm. And so in terms of being healthy and nourishing your body and general stuff to do with health, what healthy habits have you brought into your life?
So, food is a huge one. I was not the healthiest eater. I suppose I was eating pretty much
Mm-hmm.
everything that came out of boxes and went in the microwave. And so, my first healthy habit would be what I ate and taking into account what is best for my body, and then figuring out how I thrived with what I ate. That like I said, like drinking lots of water, so I don't drink any sodas or any sugary drinks like that, so all into nutrition and meditation, calming the mind, really releasing the anxiety and the stress that we have built up from our daily lives,
Mm.
and kind of like just regular things that you might think of, like working out or just being in a positive mindset. I use a lot of positive psychology models to just make sure that everything that I'm doing is in highest alignment with myself, like meditation, frequency music, um, chakra balancing, and it can get a little bit esoteric in that way, but these are habits
Mm-hmm.
that I've built that make myself feel the best.
Mm. And what do you kind of define as like healthy food and healthy things to eat?
Okay, so first of all, my philosophy in that, because I do consulting, is that every body is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say,
Amazing.
like full force what is good for everyone, but my best is a plant based, organic, gluten free diet. And so I just try my best to get everything as local as possible, as fresh as possible, and the highest quality ingredients that they can. And so I eat a lot of greens, salad to me even still sounds like, oh, salad, really? But I
Mm-hmm.
have created recipes and dressings and sauces that really make it a beautiful, enjoyable experience while still
Mm.
getting the maximum health benefits.
Mm. Yeah. I love that you said that everyone is different because I really so there's so many like kind of blanket things out there, and I think they don't always fit just everyone, you know.
Mhm.
And I've had my up and down journey with food and diet and stuff with my own health things. So yeah, it's really nice to hear that. And I think really reassuring for people. Um, and how has introducing all these healthy habits been a game changer for you?
Well, I probably wouldn't have done anything with my life if I didn't start incorporating these habits. I I was pretty much in a rut, fine with going to work at the bar and just scraping by because that was my mindset. And so introducing these small habits that turned into big habits. Actually, on that note, I really recommend the book Atomic Habits and
Okay.
implementing it's not my favorite book, but it's one of them. And so implementing these habits causes you to realign how you think. And so for me, that progressed me into being able to take on some roles, some, I guess, projects and initiatives that I don't think I could have if I didn't have the clear mindset and positive outlook and healthy outlook that I do now.
Mm. Um, and what's one thing someone listening right now could do to just live a healthier and happier life?
I always say start with your diet because that's one of the things that we all have to do. We all eat. And so you can make small changes. For me, one of the first things I did was I took out gluten, which at the
Mm-hmm.
time wasn't as popular as it is now. At the time, it was like, what are you going to eat if you're not having bread? I mean, what's
Mm.
gluten? That was my one small thing that made me realize, oh, if I remove this, I feel better. So if you start with diet and you look at what you're eating and you keep maybe a food journal and you say, okay, I've eaten this today and this is my body's response to this, then you can
Mm.
easily start to see what is triggering a reaction in your body. And then when you see those, then you can remove, like, let's say sunflower seeds. Oh, I had sunflower seeds here and I felt very tired after. So you remove them and then you see if that fatigue leaves your body. And then you
Mm.
can start to adjust your diet to see what's best for you and then go back to how we were talking about how everybody's different. So that's
Mm.
like my first thing that I say to people, because diet affects your mind, it affects your energy levels, it affects your hormones, and a lot of us don't understand that how we're eating when we're busy and we have these big days ahead of us, what we're putting in our body, even caffeine. Sometimes everyone's just grabbing a cup of coffee, but they don't know that caffeine actually doesn't affect their body in a positive way.
Mm.
So I put a lot of emphasis on what we're putting into our body because then we can gain control over more facets of our life.
Yeah. Because I remember when I gave up caffeine, or coffee quite like a couple of years ago now, I guess. And it was like a shock to my system because I drank so much. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Had withdrawal headaches. But then later, my energy just started to come back even more. And I felt way more energized in the morning than when I was having it to kind of keep awake. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what about if someone like is removing something like coffee, for example? Um, do you think it's useful to like replace it with something else to like so that have that habit of doing something at the time? Do you know what I mean?
Um, yeah, I know what you mean. That's a really good question because it's an associated habit. So that's what you're talking about. And so,
Mm.
yeah, sometimes for some people, I'll ask people what their psychological association is with it before I recommend that, because some people don't need it. But if some people's daily routine is I wake up and I drink my cup of coffee, for example, then
Mm.
yeah, I would replace it with something else. And so in that case, I would say, okay, let's start the day with a glass of hot lemon water with some cinnamon and cayenne in it, because that's going to give you a natural boost so that you still feel that boost that you're used to, but taking away the caffeine and seeing if that makes a difference in your body. But some
Mm.
people don't need that. So it's really case by case
Mm-hmm.
basis.
Yeah. Um, and you, I know that you talk about like manifestation and stuff, in relation to like habits, and a healthy lifestyle. Can you speak a little bit about that? Share a bit about that?
About manifesting, absolutely. I should have mentioned this before, actually, because it did start with the book The Secret for me when I was
Mm-hmm.
in my low moment, and that was getting popular. And so I read about
Mm.
this magical
Yeah.
experience that you can will things into your life, and I thought, oh, that can't be right. That seems a little bit too far-fetched for me. But what I did was I started doing all the daily tasks and I saw things start coming into my life. And so then I realized, oh, this is a real thing. And then I started researching it more. And so then I read The Vortex and many other manifesting materials and resources that I could get my hands on. And I think the biggest part to remember about manifestation is that life will give you what you ask for it if you believe in it. But it's, I think there's this air of entitlement concerning manifestation, that you can just get what you want and you could just have all these things come into your life. And there's debate about that. But I would say that if you are in highest alignment and doing a lot of practices that keep you centered and keep you balanced, that you can really truly change your life by putting in positive frequency and vibrations. And that's just on a quantum physics level, that you can bring in what you dream and what you desire by creating it in your mind. And so, I can borrow a little bit from Ho'oponopono, where you're creating a reality. And so if you really believe that and you put your intention, your mind, your spirit into willing something in, then I believe it will come to you.
And have you had personal experience with that?
I have. I accidentally willed my husband into using manifestation, and it was so fast, and it was the craziest thing. And we got married in 3 months, and he just showed up one day, and I was looking at my journal, and I was like, how did this happen? He met all my criteria, because in the secret there's a chapter and it's on relationships, and you write down what you want in an ideal relationship, and I did, and then he showed up. So it's possible.
Yeah, amazing. And what are you curious about right now?
Well, I'm curious about everything. I've been really into energetic healing. So I am a Reiki practitioner, but I've recently stumbled upon this book called The Emotion Code, and it deals with healing yourself in different ways using frequency. And so I have tuning forks, which come in different resonances for different areas of your body, but there's also use of magnets and healing people with changing the frequencies that might have been stuck in their bodies. So I had 3 books that I was reading, that I am reading, that are all talking about this. So I'm really interested in the frequency models of clearing out dis-ease, discomfort, and anything that might be stuck in our bodies.
Have you found it effective?
Yes. I mean, Reiki changed my life. Getting attuned in Reiki, just in full disclosure, at first I actually didn't believe in it, because I have like a scientific mindset, but a spiritual heart, I think. And so at first I was rejecting it and didn't believe that it could possibly be real. And then I saw extreme power and beauty come through it, and love and healing. And so with that, yes. As far as the other techniques, I don't have magnets that I've got to practice on, but I do have the frequency forks, and they're really interesting. I would say they work for sure, but the cool part is finding where I don't know what to call it. I guess we'll call it dis-ease, because I can't think of a better word. Finding that in the body. So you might use another technique like Reiki or intuitive healing, and then from there you would choose the frequency that would best work for it, and then heal that way. But I'm very curious to find out how that would work.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear more as you are on that journey discovering about it. Sounds so interesting. And Reiki is something that is on my bucket list to like train in and be attuned in, because it's so beautiful. And I know you've mentioned a few books, but what's your favorite book and why do you love it?
My favorite book is probably The Alchemist. And the reason why is because it's a reminder to follow your path. And I think so many of us are on paths that might not feel right to us. And that actually ties into pretty much everything I've talked about here with you today, is because if we're fighting against a path that's not meant for us, then we are tired and sad, depressed, even angry, because it doesn't feel in alignment with what we're meant to do, what our purpose is, what our passion is, what our mission is. And so that book to me is, I always go back to it when I feel that maybe I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing, to remember that it feels great and empowering and passionate and exciting when you're doing what you're meant to do.
Yeah, I love that book too. I haven't read it for years. I might have to dig it up
Pull it
again.
back out.
Yeah, I think so. And now I've got a couple of silly questions. So, room,
Okay.
desk, or car, which would you clean first?
Well, I don't have a car because I live in Bali and I have a scooter and it doesn't get dirty. So let's take that one out. But I think my room, because my room is really a sacred space for me to recharge.
Mm-hmm.
And my desk is messy because I'm one of those creative people that are just like stuff everywhere, but it's organized in my own way.
Yeah. And what profession other than your own would you love to attempt?
Oh, you know what? I always wanted to be a marine biologist. I think it'd be very cool to see what's going on in the water bodies and just getting to swim with all of the creatures living in the ocean and seeing how that huge body of life provides for the earth. I just found that very, very fascinating. I think that was what I was going to do before
Oh,
before I
wow.
ended up on this path.
Yeah. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
10, like, no, 100. Different. I'm over this scale. I'm like
Yeah.
completely tipping it.
Um, and what do you wish you'd known when you first started out?
When I started out on this journey, or when I started out in my life?
On this journey, I think. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good
Oh, but
question. I think I
you
wish.
can go both ways. If you have something that comes out from like your whole life, then
Okay, well, in
yeah.
life, I wish that I would have been more attentive to my diet, because that manifests in so many ways in our bodies and our mind. So for sure. And in this journey, I wish that I would have known that you don't always have to do what you think that you have to do. Because I found myself telling myself that I needed to do something to gain success or whatever. And it wasn't immediately that I realized that there's no need. You just have to do what feels good for you and trust and manifest that it will show up for you how it's meant to.
I love that you said how it's meant to, because it doesn't always look like what you think it's going to look like either, but it's always going to be perfect. And sometimes you have to go through challenges to get to the reward as well. So, yeah, I think that's really key. And what would you say to that version of yourself just kind of starting out?
I would say to just trust in the process and not be afraid that things are not going to look like I thought. My mom said to me the other day, "Oh, I always thought that you were going to be in a white office, like a magazine editor, driving a fancy car through the city." And I live in Bali. I'm probably considered a hippie by most people, maybe a witch by others.
Yeah.
And so, that idea of what I thought just didn't show up. And yeah, so I would tell myself, it's all fine. Everything's all fine. And if you relax and you just ease your anxious mind, you'll find out that it creates this beautiful world for you when you just calm down and trust.
Mm. And would you say, like, so there's that expectation that you had or that your mum had or thought it would be, and where you are now, are you glad it didn't turn out the way that you thought expected it to and where you ended up?
Absolutely. I mean, I went from eating cheeseburgers as my main source of meals to being like a plant-based chef that creates menus for restaurants and resorts and stuff. So I just would never have, if you told me that when I was 15 years old, I would have looked at you with like you were, had three heads. I
Yeah.
would have been like, you're insane. It's not possible. I will never do that in my life. I wouldn't even known what a chakra was at that time. I would have said,
Mm.
no, that's crazy. So I'm so happy that it turned out this way. But I think that goes along with the lines of The Alchemist, is that you do feel good in what comes to you.
Yeah. Um, and what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I think that's a hard question for me because I don't think I could go backwards. If I
Mm.
went really backwards, I would say what I would have done earlier on in my life to prevent some things that I have to now change. But also, I really believe that everything that we've ever been through has brought us to this moment. And so if
I
I
believe
changed
that too.
anything, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I absolutely 100% believe that as well. And I've had some really pivotal moments in my life that one decision's changed everything. In fact, one TV show that if I had never heard of that TV show, that I never watched it, my life would probably be completely different. Like it's
oh, what TV show was
tiniest
that?
thing. Um, it's a show called Psych, which I don't know, lots of people haven't heard of it, but yeah, it's a bit of a funny story. But I won this trip, I manifested this trip, and I met the actors, and it changed the entire trajectory of my life. So, yeah, it's pretty spun out. Um, yeah. So what if you could remove all barriers and constraints? What would you work on and want to be known for?
Hmm. Well, I don't really actually feel the need to be known for anything, which is interesting. Um, I just really want, I mean, at one point I had a blog that was going quite viral in the scene, and I felt this, I don't know, pressure come up inside me that made me no longer love what I was doing.
That's so
And then
interesting.
yeah, and then I started going around blaring about this to everybody because I quit and like took down my blog and was freaking out. And I said, oh no, I don't want people to know me for it because then I won't be doing it because I love it. I'll be doing it out of maybe expectation or financial reward or something. And so I walk that line. But I would say if I wanted to have my impact be spread out as maximally as possible, it would be just helping people feel happy and healthy in their bodies. And so there's a lot of ways that I do that now. I don't actually use social media that much, but I am a wellness coordinator for a really cool tech company. And so I bring that in there too, because every single company, every single person on this planet, I think can benefit from just simple strategies like you were saying, even manifestation, just bringing that into the awareness can really change where people's minds are at and where their lives go.
Mm, yeah. Um, it's interesting because usually it's rare. Think it's really rare to hear people say that they don't want to be known for something. I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that, to be honest. And that's
Well,
yeah, it's amazing.
I I mean it really it was introspection when I was sitting. The story of it is I was sitting on a rock looking at the ocean in the Maldives. And this was a trip that I had paid for from the finances coming in from my blog. And I was sitting there and I was yelling at my husband, like getting mad at him because he wasn't taking a good enough photo of me and it wasn't going to work for my blog.
Mm,
And this is where I attacked my own mind and it said, what are you doing here? And that's when I realized this. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And someone told me recently that I don't have an ego, which is super not true. We all have an ego. But what I realized is that I care more about what I love doing than if anybody knows about it. So I think that we all could have that ability if we were truly doing what we loved.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh, my mom was a little bit hard on me when I was younger, and she told me that I was smarter than I think. And I think I'm smart. So I was like, well, that's cool. I guess I must be pretty smart then. And the reason why I say that is because as women, I think so many of our compliments are catered toward our looks, or, they're quite suggestive in nature. And so to get a compliment from another woman concerning an intellectual property, like, that was really profound for me. And I think our mothers hold such a strong place for us, that to get a positive feedback from mother concerning like the intellectual side was stuck with me, and it was my biggest compliment I've ever had.
Yeah, it's like recognizing what you're actually made of and what you can actually do. I had similar with my dad once telling me that I could do anything I put my mind to, and I just didn't think he paid attention or noticed that stuff. So it landed like so deeply. Yeah. So I really, really understand that. And what's one thing that your work's done for someone, a client that you didn't expect?
Well, when I start off speaking to people, I am going in a very individualized way. And so I don't ever know how they're going to turn out. But this was the most amazing experience. I was in a hostel in Croatia, and I randomly invited this girl to come along with us in our car. And she ended up coming along with us. And so I ended up cooking for her. And the whole time, without even realizing it, I don't think, I was just constantly going on about plant-based lifestyle and giving nutrition advice, and just overall, like, she was being coached by me without even being intentionally coached by me. And she was really young. And so now she's completely vegan, plant-based, and like it's changed her life in such a profound way without even being under my direct consulting. So she wasn't technically a client, she was just in my midst. And she told me that by being inspired by just what I do and seeing how I live my life and how that affects me in a positive way, it empowered her enough to change her life. And she's just thriving now. And it was the most beautiful experience.
That is really beautiful. And what does elevating your life and soul mean to you?
Oh, well, first of all, I think that's just beautiful wording, and it conjures up like this feeling of love. But I think that elevating your life and soul is just being on your highest path. And by highest path, I don't mean that in necessarily spiritual way, but just in alignment with positivity. And so I'm just going to try to explain what I'm trying to say. frequency is high and lows in their resonance. And so elevating up is positive just by the nature of it. So I would say that you're increasing all aspects of your life to the most positive perspective and possibility.
Yeah, beautiful. And is there anything that you wish that I'd asked you that I haven't?
Ooh, well, I'd love to know more about you. So maybe we should turn the tables and then we'll do this with you. But concerning me, I'd love to tell you and your audience about the tech project that I'm working on, if that's okay.
Sure.
This was all about my personal practice, which I have an extreme passion for, but I'm also involved in a tech project that is a little bit difficult to understand. So I'll keep it very low key, but the idea is to reward people for behavior that they already do. So purchasing, transacting, something like if you have PayPal or Venmo or transferring apps.
Mm-hmm.
But it rewards you for regenerative, so that means like sustainable or environmentally friendly behavior. So it's very in alignment with my ethics, because we all purchase, we all transact, we all send each other money, but our current providers charge us fees for, let's say, converting it from one currency to the other, or they charge us a fee for just processing it in general, or they charge us a fee for taking money out of our bank account. And this organization and this project actually rewires all of that to reward you for those things, and then gives reward back to the environment. And I think that's really important, because what we see right now in our environment is that we need help. And so the idea was, how do we help the world without making people do something that they don't want to do? Because a lot of initiatives are like, oh yeah, that'd be great and all, but how could I help? Well, you're already doing this, so you could easily switch into using this payment platform that has a lot of other features, by the way, that are really cool. But it's just an easy switch to make your mark, to do good in the world. And so I love it, and I really wanted to tell you about it.
Yeah, it sounds so interesting. So it sounds so it's like similar to PayPal and stuff, but whatever you transact on there, there's a certain amount that's, well, not a certain amount from that, but there's money going to the environment as well while you're doing your like daily financial transactions, whatever.
Yeah, like regular, it gets really very financially in depth, but regularly when you're transacting, these fees and these reactions to the exchange go toward the company's leaders or the execs or the CEOs or whatever, these paychecks. But in this case, the money that would be accumulated that way goes back to the environment. And there's also like a LinkedIn aspect of it. So you have the ability to connect with people worldwide, and there's a marketplace for businesses and organizations to showcase what they're offering. There's a lot of features. It's called a culture, really. It's a culture on an app, and so you can just kind of put yourself into it and care for the environment, care for the planet, and care for the people. And there's lots of ways in which you can interact that on that app to do so. So
amazing. What's it called?
it's called Ceces. Now, it's not available for download now unless you are privately invited, but it will be soon. So we can put the link in the bottom so that you can check out the website and see more about what it is, if it's interesting to you, because I mean, we're all shopping, we're all sending each other money. So I always tell people it's no harm to just use it for that if you don't care about the other stuff. Like, why not just spend your money well knowing that you're doing a good thing at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will definitely put the link in the show notes and stuff. It sounds really interesting. And what other offers or things do you have out there right now that we can direct people to?
Well, like I said, I'm not like very, I'm not very socially active online, because I do a lot of work in person. But that said, since we are online right now, you can contact me if you want any nutritional advice, meal plans created. I do everything personalized, as we've been talking about. So your specific body, what your regimen is, what your routine is, what you do for work, all plays a part in what I would create for you. If that's something that you're thinking like, oh, I would really love a routine that gives me more energy, then I can help you work on that. I can do long distance energy healing if you're feeling like you just need a little bit of pump up, or if you just want some inspiration, you can reach out. We can put my links in as well, but like I just want to be like completely transparent. I don't update them that much.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. It's still a great way, maybe, like as long as there's a way people can contact you or reach out to
Mhm.
you that I can put there, then that will be really useful, I think.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I've loved it. It's been so great having you here. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and we'll talk to you really soon.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, and I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you like it, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you love this episode, please give it an honest review on iTunes and let me know what you loved and what you want more of. Your feedback helps me truly elevate the show into something that really serves you and allows me to keep pouring my heart and soul into it. This is for you. Let's rise together. And remember, know your value, know your worth. I love you, beautiful soul.